Welcome back to another edition of Sunday Flags. I'm your co-host Mason Kinnahan. That over there is Luke Brown, and it is for the second straight week a signature event week on the PGA Tour. It is time for the Genesis Invitational Tigers tournament that has become his tournament over the last few years, and we've got a lot to talk about, which means Tiger Woods. He spoke before the tournament and earlier today, actually, as we're recording this. Said some pretty important things, some eye-catching things. He was very talkative today, which you don't always see out of Tiger. So definitely some stuff to talk about from that. We're going to get into, some guys that have started the season pretty slowly, how worried we are about some of these golfers that maybe have not had the results they've wanted to kick off 2026. And then we'll get into a full preview of the Genesis. But first, Luke, how are you feeling on this Tuesday evening?
Well, not too bad, Mason, and certainly was intrigued by the things that Tiger Woods had to say earlier today. I think there was a little bit of anticipation about what he was going to say. The reporters asked great questions and gained some insight on some things from the best to ever do it.
Yeah, and let's just jump right into that because I think the biggest headline or storyline off the course this week, beyond the Genesis itself, Tiger Woods says that playing the Masters is not off the table. And that is pretty big news because Tiger, again, who has come off of multiple surgeries in the last, half decade. And most recently, the one from last year that I don't think he suffered it during TGL, right? Maybe it was during TGL.
Well,
I it was
that's
it
a
was
good question.
close. 'Cause I know
Yeah,
Sonny got hurt while playing TGL, so
yes.
it's an actual thing, and I don't exactly remember when he got hurt, but he had a season-ending surgery last season, and then he had a setback as well at one point. So now he hasn't played TGL at all this year, and hasn't played in any events, of course. But he says playing the Masters is not off the table. Luke, when you first heard this earlier today, what were your initial thoughts?
I was not surprised. We talked one of our kind of side questions and prompts before the season started, or it might have been during the first tournament of the year, was whether we would see Brooks Koepka in a PGA field before we see Tiger Woods in a Champions Tour field. And I went with Koepka because I felt that Tiger Woods is very proud of who he is, and as he should be. I mean, he's got 84 wins on the PGA Tour. Um, so he was. I didn't think he was ever really going to play Champions Tour, at least not right now. And I think that considering the fact that he can play Augusta National and obviously the biggest tournament of the year every year, until the rest of his time here. That's always kind of going to be there, and there's always going to be that opportunity. There's always kind of going to be these questions about whether he's going to do it or not. I mean, how old is Bernhard Longer, that just finished playing Augusta National and the Masters once a year? He's somewhere in his mid to late 60s, I would say. So there's plenty of time for Tiger Woods, who's 50. What do you have? 60? I
68.
was
68.
68.
Yeah.
So this is a long time, and like Bernhard Longer obviously has not dealt with the amount of surgery and amount of different things that have happened to Tiger Woods physically. But I think that this is always going to be a question because people are not done watching the greatest player of all time to do it. So I was not surprised that he's not ruling it off the table. Um, I I am interested to see if it's possible for him right now, just with the sheer amount of physical issues that he's gone through. And I think that everybody would love to see it. Those galleries would be pretty crazy. Um, and is he done winning majors? Probably, but it's Tiger Woods, and he's done the impossible before.
Yeah, you never know. And going back to his injury history, I've got the full thing here. So back in March 2025, training at his home, ruptured his left Achilles tendon. Not good. That puts him out for the rest of the season. And then in October of last fall, he gets a lumbar disc replacement, which is his seventh back surgery. So two different surgeries he had to do last year, and now still recovering. Luke, I still think he's a little bit ways away, to be honest. And I wonder if this is more of a, hey, I'll be at the Champions Dinner at the Masters than a, oh, I'm going to be able to I'm going to play the Masters. So I'm still a little doubtful on Tiger being able to play in just a month and just 2 months really from now. So that seems pretty quick to me after all the surgeries he's had in the last year. But he was also asked about just playing in general, and he also brought up that um, being able to play in a cart on the Champions Tour, he said, is certainly an opportunity. So will we see Tiger on the Champions Tour at some point this season? That was something that we were talking about a little bit with him turning 50 back in January. So it's up in the air beyond just the Masters.
Yeah, and he talked about being involved in the Ryder Cup. I think that him being a captain for the Ryder Cup team would be. I mean, this is a ways out still, but I think that Tiger versus Rory Ryder Cup captains would be one of the best situations we could ask for. Like that would be so incredible. They're both so proud and so competitive, like uber competitive. That would be a lot of fun. But I think that Tiger Woods is probably the perfect Ryder Cup captain in terms of just having the face of your country in the sport. Like, I mean, Tiger was for so long the face of the sport. To have him be a Ryder Cup captain would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it would. And I wouldn't expect Roy to be the captain anytime soon. I
Not
think
soon, no.
Europe should continue to go with Luke Donald. He seems like he's done a great job, and we don't usually see repeated captains that often. We'll see if he gets a third go at it after winning his first two, but it's definitely going to be interesting whether Tiger's the captain or not. What is going to look like in I'm blanking.
Of the year,
Where's the Ryder Cup 2027? I'm blanking.
Rome.
No, it's not.
No,
Rome was
no, it's not
2023.
Rome.
It's
That's that. Yeah,
Adair
that's the
Manor. Adair
past.
Manor. Adair Manor.
Yes.
So, it's going to be interesting to see who the U.S. comes with after very, very disappointing, past couple of Ryder Cups. But yeah, his full quote on that Ryder Cup captaincy, he said, "They have asked me for my input on it, and I haven't made my decision yet. I'm trying to figure out what we're trying to do with our tour. That's been driving me hours upon hours every day, and trying to figure out if I can actually do our team or Team USA and our players and everyone that's going to be involved in the Ryder Cup, if I can do it justice with my time." It's a good point from Tiger, who has definitely been very busy with all these schedule updates, which we'll get into in a second too. But I think the most eye-opening thing is that it sounds like they have offered him the captaincy for 2027, which you could say it was the obvious thing to do, but at least that has happened because the U.S. Management and everything we've seen has just been horrific over the last half decade or so for the
Yes.
Ryder Cup. Yeah, and that was pretty much what Tiger said. Again, talking before the Genesis, which has been become his event here on the PGA Tour. And speaking of the schedule and potential changes heading into 2027, other stuff has been rumored and going around. It sounds like the rumor mill is going, and it sounds like some announcements are expected to be made during Players Week, which again, March 12th through 15th. Expect a few days before that, Brian Rolap to kind of do a state of the tour address before what the PGA Tour wants to be the fifth major on the calendar. So we'll see what Rolap has to say, but I would definitely expect some pretty big statements on what the schedule might look like in 2027. There's also been rumors that Pebble Beach and Genesis is going to be moving to the summer, which I personally would love to see, just because, especially that Sunday at Pebble Beach, the weather was brutal and definitely took away from some of the scenery and all that at Pebble and in Genesis too. At at Riviera, it's definitely going to be not great weather this weekend. It sounds like as well. So definitely would love to see these in the summer.
Yeah, certainly. I know that they have to put winter tournaments in these areas, but does it have to be Pebble Beach, Riviera? I mean, and like, don't get me wrong, we have been spoiled up to this point with the course lineups that we've had. But yeah, I mean, it would certainly be nicer to play, especially the California. Like, I mean, the Florida stretch, I don't think is as much of a big deal, but now we're getting into March, and it's starting to warm up a little bit around. It's starting to be lighter, darker, or excuse me, lighter later in the day when it's supposed to be darker. It's kind of been. I don't know. It's interesting that they're looking into those changes because I think that they're warranted, especially when you have West Coast weather. The wind can be whipping on Pebble Beach at all times of the year, especially now. So I think those changes are kind of warranted and interested to see what they do. But they're going to. It seems like they're going to kind of restructure this whole thing. At least that's kind of how it feels right now. So, yeah, that schedule update during the Players will be very interesting to keep an eye on.
Tiger also talked about a little bit about what the schedule may look like. He said it could be a multi-year process, so not just 2027. We might not get the full thing, but it might take a couple of years to get to where the PGA Tour wants to be. I'm in agreement that I don't need to see Sedgefield a country club at the Wyndham Championship or TPC Twin Cities in the middle of
Right.
summer like that. That I don't. I'd rather have Pebble and Genesis at that time, and maybe potentially you move those events up in the calendar because I mean this West Coast swing is great and all, but it's a lot of tournaments that seem to be kind of wasted early on in the season at this point in time when you can have them later on in the summer. But yeah, that was pretty much the stuff, kind of just rumors swirling, as we get closer and closer to rollout, making an announcement on what the schedule may look like. Um, and, we definitely know that there's some tournaments that are missing sponsor names, which we can kind of assume are going to be tournaments that won't be on the calendar next year. The Sony Open, Sony, this was their last year sponsoring that event as of now. And then the Farmers Insurance Open as well. Farmers Insurance, this is their last year sponsoring that event. So, definitely some fields or some tournaments that may open up or potentially even disappear once we get to next year. All right, Luke, it's time for a little bit of a game. All right, we're going to go. Well, I got a question for you. How worried are you about these golfers? Here's some golfers that have started off pretty slow to the season overall, based on maybe expectations, based on, you know, maybe goals that we've had for them or standards that we've set for some of these guys. So we're going to rank these guys, or not rank these guys, but we're going to go on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not worried, 10 being super worried about a few guys here on the PGA Tour, some potential, major champions as well that've gone off the slow start. So, Luke, I'm going to start you off with this one, and this is a pretty big one. Ludwig Oberg has started the year with a WD, a cut, and a T37 in his first 3 events. How worried are you about Ludwig Oberg?
I would say, and I might take this back, so keep that in mind, but perhaps the most worried about Ludwig Oberg out of the group that you're about to throw at me. I mean, he didn't have a great year last year, and this was kind of the year that's like, all right, this is kind of make or break here. He's going to do something. He has to do something. Did you take him to win the Masters at the
I
start of the
did.
year?
Yes, I have taken him to
So,
win the Masters.
I mean, there's still plenty of time, and he only has 3 starts on the tour this year out of the 5 or 6 tournaments that we've played.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the resume is not good. He had to withdraw. He was 9 under at the Amex, tied at +6 at Farmers, and T37 at 11 under at Pebble Beach. So the Pebble Beach maybe is promising. This past week, he was 11 under. What was the winning score at? 21 under?
22, I think.
22.
Yeah.
11 shots back. It's not necessarily crumbling, but
T37
probably
in an 80 person event, like field. You got to
it's
take
not
that into
good.
account too. That's not good.
Yeah. No, the placement on the leaderboard is not good. I think that you can't hit the panic button if he's 11 shots back, and considering like the leaderboard is obviously going to say what it's going to say, but in his mind, he's trying right now to go out and play his best golf. He's not really worried about anything else because of how he's played up to this point. He's probably just trying to survive and play his best golf. So 11 shots back isn't awful, but just the fact that he kind of needs to go on a heater this year and prove himself. Realistically, if you're talking about 2 years ago, to say that he would not really scratch the surface of winning a major last year, and it doesn't really look like he's going to be there this year, would be pretty concerning considering where he was 2 years ago. I don't know what his highest ever placement on official world golf ranking is. It's got to be
Check. I believe it
probably
was
with,
4. 4.
yeah, I want to say it's somewhere like 6, 5, or 4.
It's 4. It's 4.
Yeah. So at one point, fourth best player in the world. If he doesn't really scratch the surface of a major this year, then there's some serious like conversations that need to be had. It's very similar, like how Bills fans need to talk about Josh Allen. Some people feel as though, you know, he's he has the makings of a really really good player. He just has not really scratched the surface.
Yeah. Yeah. Ludwig Oberg is someone. I think you're more worried about him than I am. What would you give it a 1 to 10 scale? Because I think we may be a little off here.
7.6.
Okay. Okay.
7.6.
Okay.
What were you gonna say?
7.6. I'm gonna go with like a 5 or 4. I'll go 4.5.
Okay.
I am not that worried about Ludwig. I think things will be fine. Maybe it's because I have him winning the Masters. I don't know. And
I just don't know if that's good. Yeah, I mean, he's played very well at Augusta, so
yeah, maybe that can be where he turns this season around, but that'll be in still a couple months from now. But yeah, it's not been the greatest of starts for Ludwig, and we're starting to get to a point with him. He's almost getting to the Hovland point where he's more so just in his head than anything else, in his own head. And once you get to that, it can be tough for a young player to get out of. Now, I still believe in Ludwig. He's only 26 still, and he has had good results somewhat recently. Like he played well in the playoffs down the stretch of last season and a T3 at the DP World Tour Championship, but not a hot start to the year to say the least for Ludwig. The next guy is going to be Victor Hovland, who is someone that is also kind of in the same boat a little bit as Ludwig Oberg. He had 1 win on tour last year. He won the Valspar. But beyond that, nothing much. A solo third at the U.S. Open. But again, still some top 10s here and there. Ultimately, though, to start this year, a T10 at Phoenix and then T58 at Pebble Beach. So at Pebble Beach, too, he lost strokes in every category except on approach, which is not great either. So where do you stand currently with Victor Hovland?
I'm not that concerned. It's a small sample size right now with him. As you mentioned, the Phoenix Open, he was top 10, tied for that 10th spot. And then he just didn't have a great week at Pebble Beach. I think it was easy to have a not great week at Pebble Beach considering the conditions and, it was kind of a stacked field and those type of things. So, I wouldn't say I'm concerned with Victor Hovland.
I'm kind of with you as well. I think he is still someone that is starting to find this game. We've seen videos of what he was using the pool floaties to try and get his like wedge game better or something, which is funny and whatnot. But still a T10 at Phoenix and some great performances on the DP World Tour in the fall. I think he'll be fine as well. Now I'm going to go with like a 2.5. So again, not that worried with Victor Hovland.
Yeah, I was going to say 2.5.
Yeah. The next guy is former number 2 player in the world and has kind of fallen off down the OWGR leaderboard a little bit, all the way down to 13th at this point. He started the year, I believe, in 4th. So he's third. Yeah, he's fallen quite a bit.
Yeah, that first week Tommy got him, I think. But
yeah, Xander Schauffele, who is a 2-time major winner. He won the Bay Current back in October, but to kick off this PGA Tour season, he's gotten cut T41 and T19 last week at Pebble Beach. He gained over a stroke putting as well, which isn't always, the most consistent metric. So where do you stand with Xander? And also, I have a Xander update for you once you go.
Well, I'm sure it's about his golf game and not the app, but that we talked about if you were not tuned in on Sunday night.
I have
Mason has downloaded and is frequently using, I assume now, the Xander Schauffele app. But I refer back to our preview article that we wrote right around the new year before the season started about a couple of players that were looking to bounce back after injuries. Zalatoris, Theegala, and Schauffele was the other one. He didn't he didn't have a great year last year, but it was riddled with injury, and this was kind of the chance for him to bounce back. And man, like that's such a great position. You're third in the world and you're trying to bounce back. This was like, all right, Xander, is going to have a full year here to get back into the swing of things, and he's really, really going to make a push. And he has not done that. So I think the concern level with him definitely more than Hovland, probably not as I don't know. I think depending on it kind of depends on the position. Like, I want to say not as much as Oberg, but then again, he was supposed to be the third best player in the world, or if not third, then fourth coming into the year. I mean, he was third, and then kind of immediately lost that spot to Fleetwood. Um, yeah, it's gotten better. He played well in Pebble Beach. Much better than he was playing with a T41 in Phoenix and cut at the Farmers. So not as much as Oberg. Probably a 5.3.
Wow. Okay. I'm going a little less than that with a 3.8 on
Okay,
Xander Schauffele. So I'm not that worried. And my Xander update was about the app, by the way. So I've
I'm
downloaded the
not
Xander app.
surprised.
Yeah, and apparently he's updated it. He's got Pebble Beach right there. So
It was
I,
not updated like at all lately. Like when we checked on Sunday, it wasn't. Yeah, it was like stuff from last year.
yeah. And
They must be watching this show.
they have like links. They have like pictures of things that he played at, like events. But once you click on the event, it just has a Google map, and it has a location of where the event is, and that is it. So like when I click on like the Genesis, it just shows up like on a map.
I'm just imagining we've dealt with security people, and a lot of security people are obviously great, but I'm just imagining like kind of like a security guard or like a ticket checker dealing with somebody that shows up and they're just like, oh, this is where it told me to go on the Shoffley app, and they're like, well, you need a ticket, and they're like, well, this is where it told me to go. I'm just
Yeah.
imagining that scenario, but yeah.
So the last like article that is on the app, Xander Schauffele finds his old self with second round 63 at Bay Current Classic.
Oh, that is not a headline I would like. I mean, the strategic communications part of me is coming out. Like your own official app is saying finds his own self. Like
Oh,
that's a very like external third party media kind of statement.
yeah.
I would not put that out. And why would you ever give the idea that
No.
I don't know.
Well,
That's not how I would word things.
yes, I'm more looking at the fact that it is an article about the second round of an event that he ended up winning, but it's just about the second round.
We should get in contact with the people to run this Xander Schauffele app.
We should.
Could
You can
we
also
get
buy stuff on here apparently.
well that's probably the main design for it.
Yeah,
But we should try to run this Xander Schauffele app
I think
because
we should. We should
clearly
definitely reach out. They
try
need
to
help.
run this Xander Schauffele app.
They need help. I can create an account as well on the Xander app, so I
Well,
can
that's got to get us some credibility.
Do you think there's like a rewards program with Xander
Uh,
coins or something like that?
you've earned 50 Xander Schauffele points. It's
Yes.
like the Chick-fil-A. You need like 600 or whatever to get a sandwich.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe I can get 50 points and buy some Xander merch. I don't know. All right, we gotta get to the next guy though. Keegan Bradley.
Does Keegan Bradley have an app?
I'll search it up
Probably
right
not.
now. I don't think so. I think this is a Xander specific thing. I have not seen
The
other.
KB app?
But like how there's some NBA players that have their own app. Like
Yeah, I think like Kyrie
Jeremiah
Irving.
Jeremiah Robinson Arnold has his own app.
Jeremiah Robinson Arnold.
Earl.
I don't
Earl.
Earl. I don't know who
Yeah,
that is. He has an
exactly.
app.
He does have an app,
That's
and it's just Jeremiah Robinson Earl. It's
yeah.
just him.
Is he playing for the
I
Bluecoats on
I
Thursday night?
I I don't know. He might. I think he's playing overseas now. To be honest, he
We have
was on the Thunder
overseas
for a little bit.
basketball players having apps.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Well,
He
I
was-
don't think Keegan Bradley has an app.
He does not. I checked. But to start 2026, he's gone cut T43 and T29, so improved placement each week. But his approach game, especially, has been not good to start off 2026, and he no longer has those crowds around him chanting Captain Keegan and all that because it didn't go so well. So
Those people aren't happy, and Keegan Bradley wasn't happy either. I know the course uh, setup was not necessarily what he was looking for. There were so many
so many
problems
things.
that, yeah. I mean, the Ryder Cup's so weird now. Like looking back, and even like I probably would have said this probably in mid-October when we kind of had a couple weeks. It's so weird. Like it was so dominant from the Europeans, and then the United States made their
Plus,
attempt at a comeback,
yeah,
and like for a good 2 hours, 2.5, maybe even 3 hours, it felt like it was potentially going to happen. Like it was always a long shot, but I remember sitting there and thinking, "Oh my god, like everything's kind of working out." And then I forget who lost. Maybe Cantlay lost
it
in
was
singles.
whoever was Lowry. I don't remember who it was.
Well, that was yeah. I mean, that was the clincher. But I'm talking about somebody lost, and it was like there were probably like 3 matches left, and we're like, okay, like we can't lose any of them now.
Right.
Um, and it was like, man, like this is still potentially tangible. I mean, Scotty was emotional. Kind of the only 2 times that we've ever really seen Scotty like really, really emotional were the Olympic medal ceremony, and when he finished his round at the Ryder Cup, and they asked him point blank, like, "Why are you so emotional?" And he said, "Because like there's still a fighting chance here, and we could still do it." And then the narrative around the Ryder Cup became the atmosphere, and that's kind of been the talk ever since. Is how disrespectful at times the American fans were, and the battles between the fans and Rory McIlroy. There's been so many different narratives around the Ryder Cup, but none of them have really made Keegan Bradley a happy guy. And it meant a lot to him. He was pretty vulnerable through the whole process that, you know, making the decision to play or to not play was one of the hardest things he had ever done. And there were a lot of critics. Whatever decision he made was going to be criticized quite a bit. Um, they felt so confident. Keegan is from New York, or like from the area, went to school in New York. It was such a big deal to him, and it just didn't go his way. So if there was one guy that I probably would have told you would start really, really slow on the PGA Tour this year, it's probably Keegan Bradley. Like those are pretty load-bearing things that he's taking with him. So I finished that long-winded answer to tell you that I'm not that worried about him. I just don't know how much longer he has as a upper echelon player on the PGA Tour.
I think that's where I am too. I think for me, it's more so I don't think he's going to get back to. At one point last year, he was seventh in OWGR after his win out at the Travelers. I don't think he's getting into the top 15 really anytime soon. Right now, he sits 19th. I wouldn't be surprised if that's outside the top 30 by the end of this season. So that's why I'm going to go with like maybe a 7, just because I wasn't high on him heading into this year, and things aren't looking entirely good right now. Um, and the vibes are just really low, pretty much.
I mean, and he's a self-aware guy. So I think that the the thing that I trust with him is that he's going to make the right decision at the end of this year about what he wants to do. If he wants to keep playing, then that's great. And I'm not saying like Like, I think that he could win a tournament on the tour this year. I don't think that that's outside of the realm of possibility at all. Um, that being said, I'd love to see him get into broadcasting if he thinks this is kind of over. I think that he would be terrific as an analyst. Um, yeah, I think that there's so many possibilities because he's such a likable character on the PGA Tour. Like, I'm really never going to be worried about Keegan Bradley, whether he's playing, whether he's broadcasting, whether he's I don't know whatever he wants to do. I think that he can be successful because he's extremely transparent. He's extremely likable. He's extremely genuine. So if he doesn't have a good year, he doesn't have a good year, and he's going to figure it out. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. One last guy here. Well, one thing on the Ryder Cup, I was looking through the Sunday singles. I forgot the U.S. only lost one match.
I know. Which was it? It was
It was
Cantlay, right?
Cantlay to Oberg. Yeah, then Oberg was 2 up, but
Man,
they
so
tied.
Oberg has done nothing since then. Like,
He, yeah,
he did not have a good year. He's not having a good year, but he was good enough to beat Patrick Cantlay in Sunday singles.
I mean, he had a T3 at the DP World Tour Championship, but like
Okay,
beyond
well,
that,
that's pretty credible. Though. That's a
yeah,
pretty important DP World
yeah.
Tour
I mean,
tournament.
there was a
So.
couple ties, which I think was the big thing. Like Henley tied Lowry, which ended it, but then Hatton tied Morikawa and McIntyre tied Burns. Um, but like, man, what a run the U.S. went on to start.
It was so incredible. Like, I don't know if it's like the most mainstream comeback in sports history, but I think like in terms of vibe shift, if they would have won that, I think that would have been the most improbable, incredible comeback in sports history. Like, that was unreal the way that it shifted. Cam Young's putt was just unbelievable. Like, man, that was probably the most passionately and intently I ever watched a sporting event in my entire life.
Yeah, DeChambeau's like charge at the end to tie his match against Fitzpatrick too and keep it alive.
Yeah, that it was so. I mean, it was so incredible, and like we're kind of getting a chance to talk about it now because we didn't have the
Yeah,
podcast back then. We knew that we were going to have the podcast. It was hard to not be like, all right, throw a mic on, like let's go record right now because it was so unbelievable. Ted
yeah.
Scott getting right in
Oh,
Francisco Molinari's
I
face
forgot about that. Yeah,
off the 16th green
yeah.
because Rose's caddy, or excuse me, DeChambeau's caddy, man, like that was unbelievable.
It was, yeah, it was great. Probably the best almost comeback I've ever seen. Like that. That's probably where I'm at with that. But
I said for so long, and this is such an outdated reference now, but like Maryland fans, Maryland football, they always looked at like a near win against Ohio State in like 2018. Ohio State was 2 in the country, and Maryland had like a horrendous 2-point conversion in the fourth quarter and lost the game against Dwayne Haskins, Ohio State. And it was always looked at as like the most proud Maryland football game in recent memory. They lost the game 54-52. And
yeah,
they were so proud of it. And like that's almost how I feel. Like it was not good. The fans did not cooperate with the Europeans. They were not well behaved. Like, man, was it fun.
yeah. 3 days of just or 2 days of just getting their like they're getting crushed, and then
Yeah.
at the very end, just a chance. We got to get to one last guy real quick though. It's Tom Kim. I think for me, Tom Kim is the number one guy on this list. I'm the most worried about. His last, he's played 4 events this year. He's gone T61, T38, T65, T33. He currently is not qualified for any of the majors. He is in trouble. I'd give this a 9, I would say. I'm pretty worried about Tom Kim.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty darn fair. T35 at Phoenix. There's the sample size, or excuse me, I'm sorry. T65 at the Farmers. Like, yeah, it hasn't looked good. He hasn't missed a cut, which is encouraging, but he's not playing well on the weekends. And I would say, yeah, I don't know if I go as high as a 9, maybe an 8, but yeah, definitely I take back having most concern about Oberg here. I think that Kim is probably my number one guy.
His last top 20 finish was Pebble Beach last year, a T7. Like he has not had a top 20 no, that's a lie. Sorry, top 10 finish was a T7. So He's only had 2 other top 20 finishes in that time, which is, again, not great. He is pretty high on my list. But let's move on now to the tournament this week, and that is the Genesis Invitational, a return to Riviera Country Club after not playing there last year. This event was hosted at Torrey Pines due to the California fires. Riviera, of course, going to be hosting the 2028 Olympics once we get there in a few years.
Ludwig which I'm very excited for.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
It really is. And Ludwig Oberg, technically the reigning champion of this tournament, but Hideki was the last one to win it at Riviera back in 2024. Initial thoughts, Luke, heading into this week. It's the second straight week of a signature event here with the PGA Tour.
Well, I mean, I think that we missed this last year playing this the 18. Like, man, is it always fun on Sunday evening watching that stroll up 18? You know, whoever's going to win, it's a lot of fun. I do agree that I think that this would be great for the summertime if they decided that. I would not be opposed to hosting this tournament closer into the summer rather than now. I don't know what to expect from Oberg coming in. We'll obviously get to that part of things here, but I think that this is kind of a now or never thing, considering that he's played well in the course. He won the tournament last year. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But Sunday afternoon, whoever's going to win this tournament, that walk up the uphill, I think it's probably a par 4, 18th hole there, is always a lot of fun. And we missed it last year. Looking forward to having it now.
Yeah, and that first tee too, just sending it off of a cliff to get things started is great and very unique to Riviera. The course itself, 7,300 yards, par 71. The field very similar to last week. Again, it's a signature event, the second straight one. Sponsors exemptions for this week include Adam Scott, Max Homa, Tony Finau, Tom Kim, and Sahith Theegala. Again, not exactly any surprises here. It's pretty much the same guys every single time at this point. No Jordan Spieth, if I am pretty sure. I don't think he's in the field.
I don't think so.
He didn't get a sponsors exemption, so I don't. He is in the field.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how he got in because he didn't get a sponsors exemption. I don't think.
But we can find out here.
We'll find out in a second. But it is not exactly. Aon. The next 10. Aon next 10.
Oh yeah.
So he's in. I was like, I was wondering why he didn't get a sponsors exemption. He usually has one of those spots in there. But he'll be in the field, I guess. Overall, this week, the one thing that's different than last week is there's a 36-hole cut, which is really rare for a signature event. As you know, signature events usually everyone gets money that way, but there will be a 36-hole cut, T50 and better. That is pretty much that on the field and all of that. So there will be some pressure on some of these golfers on Friday, which, again, I'm all for a cut. I hate these no-cut events. It really lacks. It brings a lack of energy on Friday and Thursday, just because everyone's going to make the weekend anyways, and everyone's going to have a shot. So the cut, I think, is huge. And what are your thoughts on the no-cut signature events?
I think it depends. I like it for. I personally think that it provides a lot of value to Thursday and Friday for the golfers. I mean, it's the difference between making money or not. And I think especially to Friday, it's a storyline going into Friday who's going to make it. So I like it. I'm in favor of cuts pretty much all the time.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the consensus too. Which we'll see again next year with the new schedule and everything, what Rollout wants to do with the cuts and all of that. Because again, most of the signature events, they don't have them. This is a rare one that does. But Luke, you ready to get into the predictions board for this week?
Sure thing.
Here we go. All right. If you're new here, we pick 4 golfers every week, and we have a season-long competition based on prize money of, who picks the best people, pretty much. We've got 4 of them, a top 50 golfer in the world based on OWGR, not top 50 golfer, a past champion of that specific event, and then a classic one-and-done pick. Once you pick that golfer, you cannot pick them in that category for the rest of the year. Surprise, surprise, Luke. For your top 50 pick, who did you decide to go with?
Well, I need the points here. If you're just tuning in to our audio version of the podcast, Mason has 3.5 million collected over his over the amount 5 tournaments that we've played thus far. I'm at 2.1, so I have Scotty Scheffler to try to smooth the gap a little bit. It's my second time having Scheffler this year. I had him at the Phoenix Open where he almost missed the cut and then almost won the tournament in the same week. So it seems like you just can't go wrong. Even if it looks like he might miss the cut on Friday, you're probably going to end up with a good chunk of change by Sunday if you have him.
Yeah, this is a on the fly rule that we've added. The leader cannot pick Scotty Scheffler.
On the fly, meaning I'm hosting music on Rowan Radio, the campus station where we go, and Mason walks into the studio for his show right after mine and says, "Hey, I'm thinking if you're down, you can't have Scotty." And I said, "That's fair."
Yeah, I'm giving you every. I feel bad. This is a. I feel bad. You're down quite a bit, so I'm giving you Scotty for now, at least. I went though with Tommy Fleetwood. To be honest, I'm not exactly super confident in my board overall this week, but I feel like with Fleetwood, he's a consistent performer, and I can count on him to make this top 50 cut. Give me some money. Maybe, we can compete with Scheffler here, but let's be real. Unless Tommy wins it and Scheffler places second, I don't think Tommy's going to outscore him. But still, a top 5 golfer in the world and someone who is has played well in big tournaments throughout his career. In the not top 50 category, I went with Sahith Theegala, someone who it was coming off of injury last year. We mentioned earlier in this episode that, again, his injury back in TGL last year really sidelined him for a majority of last season. But he's fully healthy now, and he's been chipping well in TGL, and he's been putting well on the PGA Tour. So that's a pretty good combo in my opinion. And so that's why I went with him here. Who did you decide to go with your not top 50 pick?
I have Rico Hoey, who's a little bit of a gamble here. He's been all over the place thus far this year. T50 in Hawaii withdrew at the Amex, T70 at the Farmers, T24 in Phoenix, and most recently T67 at 3 under at Pebble Beach. So he's been a little all over the place. I know you and I both were kind of looking for him to see what he was going to be able to put together this year, and I think that if, in our hardest category, sometimes wild cards are going to happen. You're going to have guys that have been all over the place, and that's why they're outside of the top 50 in OWGR, and he's one of those people.
Yeah, and definitely something to keep an eye on. I think for my past champion, I picked not a past champion. I don't know if Max Homa's actually won this.
I don't know.
I don't think. Oh, he did in 2021.
Yeah, he did in
okay.
20. Yeah, 21.
I was like, I swear I thought he did. Yeah, I swear I thought he did. And then I was like looking it back up, and I was like, I don't see his name here.
I think it was Joaquin Niemann in 22. He won in a landslide.
Yeah, and then Rahm won it in 2023. So
yeah,
it's a couple of live guys that we can't pick. But yeah, for my past champion, I went with Max Homa. He's had a run-up finish. He's won this event, and most recently in 2024 T16 at Riviera. He plays Riviera really well, and for a guy who has been kind of wonky, his game has not been very consistent in the last year and a half or so. I'm hoping that this is a great course fit for him, and he's got good course history here. So that's why I went with him in the past champion category.
Yeah, and yours makes me feel a little bit better about mine, being Ludwig Oberg, who we've talked about, and a little concerned about how he's played lately and how there has not been much success to his game so far this year and last season. I don't know if I'm going to lose to Max Homa, though. I mean, Homa just has not been successful, has not been himself. He had to play golf's longest day lately, didn't he?
Yeah.
To get in
the
where?
The U.S. Open, and he did. Yeah, because he was in that 5-way playoff. that
I was
Cam
gonna
Young
say
got.
U.S. I was gonna say U.S. Open, but then I was like, wait, he didn't play the U.S. Open. So yeah, he had what was it, 36 holes, carry your own bag?
Yeah, he carried his own bag. Yeah, because
Yeah,
he was well, he carried his own bag because his he didn't have a caddy at the time
yeah,
because he was going through all that caddy stuff with Joe Griner and all, and then a bunch of different guys after him. Griner, of course, on Akshay's bag now. So definitely interesting.
yeah. I mean, it's now or never for Oberg here within the next couple weeks, or month and a half or so, to prove himself for this season. So yeah, one of these tournaments, I think he has to break through. We've seen it before. One of these tournaments, it's got to break through. I think at least.
Yeah, he's actually only played Riviera once. It was a T16 back in 2024 at the Genesis, and then of course he won last year, but that was at Torrey Pines. So definitely will be interesting to see how Oberg fares at Riviera. And then for a one and done category to wrap things up here, I went ahead and went with Akshay Bhatia, someone who has been very competitive the last few weeks. A solo third at I believe at Phoenix, right? Yeah, a T3 at Phoenix and then a T6 at Pebble Beach last week. Akshay, I feel like just playing some really good golf. It was a little bit of a slow start, missed a couple cuts to begin the year, but two really solid performances all around as well in the last couple of weeks. And just that pairing with him and Joe Griner seemed to have really, caught fire here as of late, which is why I went with him for my one and done. Luke, who did you decide to go with here?
Outside of Scotty Scheffler, I think this is the one that I'm most confident in Hideki Matsuyama in the one and done category. I'm going to use him here. Had a T13 in Hawaii, T11 at the Farmers, lost in a playoff to Goddard up in Phoenix, and then was top 10 again last week at T8 with Pebble Beach. So he's had a really, really good stretch of 4 tournaments here. He's been very promising in the off season. So I think that this is a good spot to use him in a field that, excuse me, in a tournament that has a $20 million purse to it. So at some point we're going to use all the best players in the world, and Hideki's obviously kind of in that mix, and I'll use him here.
Yeah, there was actually a couple of guys that I was trying to go with, but I actually already used. I thought Ben Griffin would have been a good one here, just getting a consistent performance, but I used him earlier at the Amex. And then I was thinking maybe a guy like Siwoo Kim, used him at Phoenix. So I kind of was all over the place, and I think Hideki here is a really good pick. And I've got some guys that are really hit and miss. If I assume you get a good performance out of Scotty, I assume you get a good performance out of Hideki. If Rico Hoey or Ludwig Oberg can get you a top 10 finish, man, I could things could get a lot closer. But definitely going to be really interesting week to watch for sure.
Yeah, I'm really interested in how this shakes out, because I think that my middle two guys, Hoey and Oberg, are going to be the wild cards, and I would say you have Homa and Thigala that are kind of wild cards. So
Yeah, definitely it's going to be a fun one to watch. Again, I'm about 1.4 million up on Luke currently. But yeah, Luke, I think that is pretty much going to wrap things up. That's pretty much all we got. We talked about a lot of stuff here today.
we
From
did.
Tiger and some checking in on some guys. I've gone off the slow starts. More updates on the Xander app and the
That's
Genesis.
right.
But yeah, any final thoughts, closing thoughts before we get to the Genesis this week?
None other than that you can keep in touch with our Twitter and Instagram, both our personal and for Sunday Flags, in the description of this episode. Instagram, Twitter, as well as our website, sundayflags.substack.com. Again, that's in the description of the episode today, and we look forward to seeing you after what happens on Sunday at Riviera.
Yeah, it's going to be a great, really fun tournament. I feel like that we're going to get here. And glad to see Riviera back again on the PGA Tour. But for Luke Brown, I have been Mason Kinnahan, and you have been listening to Sunday Flags.